The Plaza Hotel in Manhattan stood like a fortress of old money and new secrets on that humid June evening. 22-year-old Maya Chen pressed her employee keycard against the service elevator panel with trembling hands. Her first week as a hotel event coordinator was supposed to be glamorous, but right now, she just wanted to deliver these forgotten client documents to room 2847 and go home. The elevator dinged on the 28th floor. Maya stepped out into the hushed corridor, her sensible flat silent on the plush carpet. She checked her phone again. Room 2847. The wedding planner had been frantic. These contracts needed signatures tonight, or the Vanderbilt wedding would be postponed. Maya's job depended on getting this right. Her supervisor had made that crystal clear during their morning meeting. One more mistake, Maya, and we will have to reconsider your position here. The words still stung. Maya had worked so hard to get this job. 4 years of hospitality management school while working nights at her parents' failed restaurant. Student loans that would take decades to pay off. And now, 1 week in, she was already on thin ice. She stopped at what she thought was room 2847 and knocked softly. No answer. The hallway security camera blinked its red eye at her. She knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. Maya bit her lip. The wedding planner had said the client would be waiting. She pulled out her master service key card, the one given to all event staff for emergencies. This qualified as an emergency, right? The lock clicked green. Maya pushed the door open and called out. "Hello, Mr. Harrison, I have your documents." The suite was dark except for the city lights filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Maya fumbled for the light switch but found nothing. She took a careful step inside, letting the door close behind her. Her eyes adjusted to the dimness. This was definitely a suite, a massive one. She could make out the silhouette of a king-sized bed, a sitting area, and what looked like a full bar with crystal decanters catching the light. "Mr. Harrison?" She moved deeper into the room, holding the manila envelope like a shield. "I am from events. I have your contracts." A figure materialized from the shadows near the windows, and Maya's heart jumped into her throat. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing what looked like an unbuttoned dress shirt and slacks. His face was half in shadow, but she could see the sharp line of his jaw. The way he held himself with the absolute confidence of someone who owned whatever space he occupied. "You are not Mr. Harrison," Maya stammered, taking a step back toward the door. The man moved closer, and his voice was deep, roughened by something Maya could not quite identify. Exhaustion? Alcohol? Despair? "No, I am definitely not Mr. Harrison. Who let you in?" I knocked. No one answered. I thought this was room 2847. Maya's professional training kicked in despite her racing pulse. "I am so sorry, I must have the wrong room. This is 2874. Maya's stomach dropped. She had transposed the numbers. The exact mistake that would get her fired. "Oh God, I am so sorry. I will leave right now." "Wait." The man stepped fully into the light from the windows and Maya's breath caught. He was younger than she expected, maybe 35, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and eyes that seemed to see right through her defenses. "You work for the hotel?" "Yes, events department. First week." Maya clutched the envelope tighter, her knuckles white. "Please do not report this. I really need this job." He studied her for a long moment, and Maya felt exposed under his gaze. She noticed the exhaustion carved into his features, the tension in his shoulders, the half-empty glass of whiskey on the table behind him. This was a man carrying the weight of the world and about to crack under the pressure. "What is your name?" "Maya Chen." "Well, Maya Chen, you look like you have had a hell of a day." He gestured to the bar with a gesture that was almost mocking. "Want a drink?" Maya knew she should leave. Every training manual, every workplace guideline, every ounce of common sense screamed at her to apologize again and get out. But something in his voice, in the exhausted slump of his shoulders, in the desperate loneliness radiating from him, made her pause. "Are you okay?" The question seemed to surprise him. He let out a short, bitter laugh. "No. Actually, no, I am not." He poured amber liquid into 2 glasses, with hands that shook slightly. "I just walked away from a meeting where 12 people told me exactly how I should live my life, where I should invest my money, who I should marry, what kind of legacy I should leave, what my future children should be named. And you know what the really pathetic part is? What? I almost listened to them. I sat there like a good little puppet and nodded and agreed to everything. He handed her a glass and their fingers brushed. The contact sent electricity up Maya's arm. Because that is what I do. I make everyone else happy while I slowly disappear. Maya found herself taking a tentative step forward instead of toward the door. Why did you not just tell them no? Because I looked around that boardroom and realized I did not recognize my own life anymore. When did I become this person? When did I trade everything I believed in for a number and a bank account? He downed his drink in one swallow and poured another. When did you last do something just because you wanted to? Not because you should, or because someone expected you to, or because it was the responsible thing to do? Maya thought about her answer, really thought about it. The question cut deeper than he probably intended. Honestly, I cannot remember. Maybe never. If you are enjoying this story and want more deep dive narratives like this, hit that subscribe button and join our community of 10,000 story lovers who crave content that goes beyond the surface. New stories drop every week that will keep you hooked till the very end. Now let's get back to Maya's story. That is the saddest thing I have heard all day. And I have heard a lot of sad things today. He raised his glass in a mock toast. To doing things we want instead of things we should. Maya raised her glass but hesitated before drinking. I really should go. But you are not going to, are you? The words hung between them like a challenge, like a dare, like a lifeline thrown to two drowning people. Maya knew the smart thing, the safe thing, the right thing was to walk out that door. But when had she ever done what she wanted? She had chosen hospitality management against her parents' wishes because it was practical. She had taken this job knowing it would barely cover her rent because it was sensible. She had dated men who bored her because they were appropriate. She was tired of being smart, tired of being responsible, tired of playing it safe while life passed her by. 5 minutes, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Then I have to deliver these documents. 5 minutes. He gestured to the sofa, and they both sat. His proximity made her heart race. So tell me, Maya Chen, what brings you to the plaza? And I do not mean the job. I mean what really brings you here. What is your story? Maya found herself talking, really talking in a way she had not with anyone in years. She told him about her parents who had immigrated from Taiwan with dreams of owning a successful restaurant in America. How they had poured their life savings, their hopes, their entire future into Chen's kitchen in Flushing. How it had failed anyway, despite their hard work, leaving them with nothing but crushing debt and broken dreams. How Maya had watched her father age 10 years in one, his spirit crushed by the weight of failure, her mother's hands permanently stained from washing dishes in other people's restaurants to pay their bills. I promised myself I would make it, Maya said softly, staring into her untouched glass. That I would prove their sacrifice was not for nothing. That someone in our family could succeed in America. That their daughter would not be a disappointment. That is a heavy burden to carry. His voice was gentle, understanding in a way that made her chest tight, especially when you are carrying it alone. What about you? Maya looked up at him. What is your burden? He was quiet for a long moment, swirling the whiskey in his glass. The city lights painted shadows across his face. I built an empire from nothing. Foster kid who got lucky with a tech investment that turned into something bigger than I ever imagined. Now I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. I have penthouses in 5 cities. I have a jet. I have people who jump when I speak. But you know what? I have never been more miserable in my entire life. Money does not buy happiness. Money buys comfort, security, options. But it also buys expectations, responsibilities. A version of yourself that you have to maintain for everyone else, even when it is killing you from the inside. He leaned back against the sofa. I have a fiancé I do not love. Business partners who only see dollar signs when they look at me. A life that looks perfect from the outside, but feels empty from the inside. Like I am watching someone else live my life while I am trapped behind glass. Then why do you keep living it? Because walking away from everything is terrifying. Even when everything is wrong, it is still familiar, safe, known. He turned to look at her, and Maya saw raw pain in his eyes. The devil you know, right? Maya understood that more than she wanted to admit. She had stayed in relationships that made her miserable because being alone felt scarier. She had taken jobs she hated because unemployment felt worse. She had lived her entire life in the safe zone, terrified of taking real risks, of wanting too much, of reaching for things that might slip through her fingers. What would you do if you were not afraid, she asked. I would start over. Go somewhere no one knows my name or what I am worth. Build something with my own hands instead of with money and contracts. Maybe buy a small bookstore in a quiet coastal town. Read all day. Talk to people who see me, not my bank account. Live simply. Live honestly. That sounds beautiful. What about you? What would you do if you were not afraid? Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. I would travel, see the world instead of just reading about it in books and looking at pictures online. I would write stories. Maybe try to get them published even though I would probably fail. I would stop trying to prove something to everyone and just live. Just exist without the weight of expectation crushing me. Why do you not? Because I am afraid. The admission surprised her. She had never said those words out loud before, never let herself be that vulnerable. I am afraid of failing like my parents, afraid of being ordinary, afraid of wanting too much and ending up with nothing, afraid of disappointing everyone who believed in me. The man leaned forward, and for the first time, Maya saw his eyes clearly in the light. They were hazel, flecked with gold, beautiful and sad and ancient. Being afraid is not the problem. Letting fear make all your decisions is. Is that what you do? Every single day. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch gentle. And I hate myself for it. They talked for hours. Maya forgot about the documents, about her job, about the rules she was breaking. He told her about growing up in foster care, bouncing between homes, never staying anywhere long enough to make real connections, about using that loneliness as fuel, building his business empire to prove he was worth something, worth keeping, about realizing too late that success without connection was just expensive loneliness in a nicer cage. Maya told him about being the good daughter, the responsible one, about her younger brother who had pursued his dreams of being an artist while she had chosen the practical path, resenting him for his freedom even while she was proud of his courage, about feeling stuck in a life she had chosen but never really wanted, about waking up every morning and not recognizing herself in the mirror. The whiskey made her warm and loose. The exhaustion from her 70-hour work week made her brave. When he moved from his seat to sit beside her on the couch, Maya did not pull away. When his hand found hers, she did not flinch. When he leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to stop him, she closed the distance instead. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, a question. Then it deepened into something desperate and hungry and real. Maya felt like she was waking up after years of sleepwalking through her own life. This was what being alive felt like. This electricity, this connection, this choice made for no reason except wanting it. We should not do this, she whispered against his mouth, even as her hands tangled in his hair. I know. His voice was rough with need. I do not even know your name. Do you want to? Maya thought about it. If she knew his name, this became real, complicated. A story with consequences and morning after regrets. If they stayed strangers, it could just be this. A moment out of time, a choice made in darkness, something she could maybe forgive herself for. No, she said, I do not want to know. He pulled back to look at her, his eyes searching hers for any hesitation. Are you sure about this? No, but I want it anyway. Why? Because you see me, really see me, not the good daughter or the perfect employee or the responsible one who always does the right thing. You see Maya, just Maya, and that is worth everything. They moved to the bed, and he undressed her slowly with shaking hands. When she told him this was her first time, he froze completely. Maya, we do not have to do this. His voice was strained with the effort of control. We can stop right now. I want to. Her hands cupped his face. I am tired of waiting for the right time, the right person, the right circumstances. I want this. I want you. Right now, even if it is just tonight, especially because it is just tonight. He made love to her with a tenderness that brought tears to her eyes. It hurt at first, a sharp pain that made her gasp, but he was patient. He kept asking if she was okay, if she wanted to stop, giving her control even as she gave herself to him. When the pain faded into something else, something warm and wonderful and terrifying, Maya understood what people meant when they talked about connection. This was not just physical, it was emotional, spiritual, a recognition between two lonely souls finding temporary refuge in each other's arms. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the sheets, the city lights painting patterns on their sweat-slick skin. Maya traced circles on his chest, memorizing this moment because she knew with bone-deep certainty it could never happen again. "Do you regret it?" he asked quietly, his fingers trailing up and down her spine. "No." Maya kissed his shoulder. "Do you?" "Not even a little bit." He tilted her chin up to look at him. "Thank you, Maya Chen, for seeing me tonight, for giving me this." Maya felt tears slip down her cheeks. She did not know why she was crying. Happiness, sadness, the knowledge that this perfect moment would end and she would have to return to her regular life where nothing this magical ever happened. She must have fallen asleep because when she woke up, pale dawn light filtered through the windows like an accusation. The man beside her was deeply asleep, his face peaceful in a way it had not been while awake. Maya carefully extracted herself from his arms and gathered her clothes in the gray light, her body aching in unfamiliar places. Reality crashed back in waves. What had she done? She had slept with a stranger, a hotel guest, in a room where she worked. She could lose her job, her reputation, everything she had worked for. Her parents would be so ashamed if they ever found out. She dressed quickly with shaking hands. She found the documents still on the table by the door, the envelope crumpled from being forgotten. Maya looked back at the sleeping man one last time. Part of her wanted to wake him, to say goodbye properly, to ask his name and give him her number, to see if this could be something more than one desperate night. But that would make this real, and Maya could not afford real right now. Real had consequences. Real meant complications she was not equipped to handle. She crept to the door, turned the handle slowly, and stepped into the bright hallway. The door clicked shut behind her with a finality that made her heart ache. Maya ran to the elevator and jabbed the button repeatedly with trembling fingers. She needed to get out of here, away from what she had done, away from the feeling that she had just made the biggest mistake of her life, or maybe the only real choice she had ever made. She could not tell which. The elevator arrived. Maya stepped in and finally looked at the documents in her hand. Her blood turned to ice as she read the letterhead in the harsh, fluorescent light. Montgomery Harrison Wedding. Contract review for Alexander Montgomery, CEO Montgomery Holdings, and Victoria Harrison. Not just Harrison, Montgomery Harrison. She had been looking for Robert Harrison, the bride's father. But this suite, this room, this bed where she had just lost her virginity belonged to Alexander Montgomery, the groom. But that meant the man she had just slept with was... No, it could not be. There had to be some mistake. Maya's hand shook so badly she almost dropped the papers as she pulled out her phone and typed the name with trembling fingers. The first Google image that appeared made her knees buckle. She grabbed the elevator railing to stay upright. It was him, the man from the suite. Alexander Montgomery, billionaire tech mogul, age 34, net worth $8.3 billion. And there he was in photo after photo at charity galas, in business conferences and society events. And in every recent photo, standing beside him with her hand on his arm, was a beautiful blonde woman identified in the captions as his fiancée, Victoria Harrison. The elevator dinged. Maya stumbled out and barely made it to the staff bathroom before she threw up everything in her stomach. She had slept with an engaged man, a billionaire engaged man, a man who was supposed to get married in 3 months. She was a fool, a complete and utter fool who had thrown away her virginity on a man who probably did this all the time, who probably had a different woman in his bed every week while his perfect fiancée planned their perfect wedding. But even as Maya thought it, she knew it was not true. The pain in his eyes had been real, the loneliness, the connection between them. Unless she had imagined it all, unless she was just another naive girl who had fallen for a smooth talker and would now pay the price. Maya cleaned herself up as best she could and delivered the contracts to the actual room 2847 in a daze. Robert Harrison signed them without really looking at her, too busy yelling into his phone about catering numbers. Maya stumbled home to her tiny studio apartment in Queens as the city woke up around her, feeling like a completely different person than she had been 12 hours ago. She stood in the shower until the water ran cold, scrubbing her skin until it was red and raw, trying to wash away what had happened. But she could still feel his hands on her body, his lips on her skin, his voice in her ear saying her name like a prayer. What had she done? Maya called in sick to work for 3 days. She could not face going back to that hotel, could not risk seeing Alexander Montgomery again. Could not bear the thought of running into him in the hallways or elevators while he pretended not to know her. She spent those days in her apartment researching him obsessively. Alexander Montgomery, 34 years old, founded his first tech company at 22, sold it for $50 million at 25, built an empire from there, now worth over $8 billion with holdings in tech, real estate, and venture capital. Engaged to Victoria Harrison, daughter of real estate magnate Robert Harrison. The wedding was being called the merger of the century, two powerful families combining their empires. Maya read every article, watched every interview, studied every photo. She was looking for something, though she did not know what. Proof that he was a monster? Proof that he was not? Proof that what happened between them had meant something? In interviews, Alexander was charismatic but guarded. He talked about business strategy and market trends, but never about himself. In photos with Victoria, they looked perfect together like they had stepped out of a Ralph Lauren ad. Beautiful people living beautiful lives. But Maya remembered his eyes, the pain in them, the loneliness. That had been real? She was sure of it. Almost sure. Maybe. On the 4th day, her supervisor called. Maya, we need you back. There is a huge corporate event next week, and we are seriously understaffed. If you are still sick, I need a doctor's note. I will be there tomorrow, Maya said, because what choice did she have? She needed this job now more than ever. She needed the routine, the distraction, the pretense that her life had not completely derailed. She went back to work with armor firmly in place, professional, distant, focused only on her tasks. She would avoid Alexander Montgomery at all costs. The hotel was huge. The odds of running into him again were slim. She would forget that night ever happened and move on with her life. But forgetting proved impossible when her body started changing in ways she could not ignore. 3 weeks after that night, Maya's period did not come. She tried not to panic. Stress could cause delays. She had been under enormous pressure. It was probably nothing, but another week passed, then another. Maya's breasts became tender. She felt nauseous in the mornings. She was exhausted all the time, falling asleep on the subway during lunch breaks the moment she got home. She bought a pregnancy test from a pharmacy 2 neighborhoods away, terrified someone from work might see her. She took it at 2 in the morning in her tiny bathroom, unable to sleep from anxiety. The 2 pink lines appeared almost immediately, clear, undeniable, mocking her. Maya slid down the bathroom wall and sat on the cold tile, staring at the positive test. Her mind went blank. Then it raced. Then it went blank again. She was pregnant, with Alexander Montgomery's baby, the billionaire who was engaged to someone else. The stranger she had given her virginity to in a moment of reckless abandon that would now define the rest of her life. She sat there until dawn, running through every possible scenario. She could get an abortion. It was early enough. She could make this problem disappear, and no one would ever have to know. But even as she thought it, her hand moved unconsciously to her still flat stomach, and she knew she could not do it. She could give the baby up for adoption, have it and let someone else raise it. Someone stable, someone ready, someone who was not a 22-year-old barely making rent. But the thought of carrying a child for 9 months and then handing it away made her chest tight with grief she had no right to feel yet. She could tell Alexander and demand child support. He was a billionaire. He could afford it, but he was engaged, about to be married, starting his own family with someone else. How could she destroy that? How could she be the other woman who trapped him with a baby? Everyone would think she had done it on purpose. A gold digger who had gotten exactly what she wanted. Or she could keep the baby and raise it alone. Tell no one who the father was. Make this her responsibility and hers alone. Alexander Montgomery would never know he had a child. He would marry Victoria Harrison and live his perfect billionaire life. And Maya would figure out how to be a single mother while trying not to drown. As the sun rose over Queens, Maya made her decision. She would keep the baby. She would do this alone. She would be strong enough. She had to be. She made an appointment with an obstetrician, started taking prenatal vitamins, researched single parenthood with the same obsessive focus she had used to research Alexander Montgomery. She could do this. Women did it every day. She would make it work somehow. But at 6 weeks pregnant, the morning sickness hit hard. Maya spent half her shifts running to the bathroom. She lost weight instead of gaining it because she could not keep anything down. Dark circles appeared under her eyes that no amount of concealer could hide. Her skin took on a grayish pallor. She looked sick because she was sick. Her supervisor noticed. "Are you okay, Maya? You look terrible. Maybe you should see a doctor. Just a stomach bug." "I am fine. If you need to take some time off." "No." The word came out too sharp. Maya softened her tone. "I need to work. I cannot afford time off right now." That was the truth. She needed to save every penny she could for when the baby came. For maternity leave she would not be paid for diapers and formula, and doctor visits. For the million expenses she could not even imagine yet. She needed this job now more than ever, which meant she had to power through the nausea and exhaustion and pray no one figured out why she was really sick. 2 months into her pregnancy, Maya was setting up for a corporate luncheon in the plaza's grand ballroom. She was on a ladder adjusting floral centerpieces when she heard a voice that made her freeze. The quarterly reports show significant growth in the Asian markets, especially in the tech sector. Alexander Montgomery, here, in her ballroom. Maya's hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the flowers. She climbed down the ladder slowly, her heart hammering against her ribs. She could leave through the service entrance. He would never see her. She could avoid this confrontation. But as she turned to flee, her eyes betrayed her. She looked. She had to look. Alexander stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows in an impeccable navy suit that probably cost more than Maya made in 6 months. He was talking to a blonde woman in a designer dress that showed off a figure that looked professionally maintained. Victoria Harrison, his fiancée. Up close, she was even more beautiful than in photos. Perfectly styled, perfectly polished, perfectly everything. They looked like they belonged together. Like they had been designed by some cosmic architect to complement each other. Power couple, dynasty builders, people whose lives would never intersect with someone like Maya, except as staff serving them drinks. Victoria laughed at something Alexander said, touching his arm possessively with manicured nails. The gesture was casual but territorial. "This is mine." He smiled at her. But Maya noticed it did not reach his eyes. That same empty smile from all the photos she had studied obsessively. The smile of someone playing a role. Maya started backing toward the service entrance, keeping her head down. She had almost made it when her nausea surged without warning. She froze, pressing a hand to her mouth, willing herself not to vomit right there in the middle of the ballroom. "Not now. Not here. Please, not now." "Maya." The voice stopped her cold. She closed her eyes, took a breath, prayed for a meteor to strike the building. Then turned slowly. Alexander was walking toward her, his expression confused. His eyes widened as recognition hit like a physical blow. "Maya Chen, what are you doing here?" Up close, he looked different than she remembered. More tired. Older somehow. There were shadows under his eyes that had not been there before. But his eyes were the same. Those hazel eyes that had seen right through her defenses. That had looked at her like she mattered. "I work here," Maya managed to say. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Events department." "I told you that. You work here." He said it slowly, like he was trying to solve a complicated equation. "But that night, you said you were delivering documents to a client." "I was." "I do work here. In events. We needed something signed urgently." Maya's throat felt tight. She could feel her carefully constructed walls crumbling. Understanding dawned on his face, followed by something that looked like pain. You work here. This whole time you have been right here, just floors away. Maya did not know what to say to that. What could she say? Yes, I have been here, coordinating events, planning parties, living my life while carrying your child, and you had no idea. Victoria appeared at Alexander's side like a beautiful shark, scenting blood in the water. She slid her arm through his with the casual possession of someone who had done it 1,000 times. Who is this, darling? A hotel employee. Alexander's eyes never left Maya's face, and she saw questions there. Accusations, maybe, or was she imagining it? We met briefly a few months ago. How nice. Victoria's smile was sharp as expensive glass. Her eyes assessed Maya in seconds, cataloging every detail, every flaw, every sign that Maya did not belong in their world. Alexander, we need to finalize the ballroom setup for the engagement party. The caterer is waiting, and we are already behind schedule. Engagement party. The words hit Maya like a punch directly to her still flat stomach where their baby grew. Of course, they were having their engagement party here, at the plaza, in the very ballroom Maya was currently setting up. The universe had a twisted sense of humor. Of course, Alexander said, but his gaze remained locked on Maya like he was trying to read her mind. I will be right there. Victoria's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. Now, Alexander, we have a very tight schedule today, and you know how important this is to Daddy. He finally looked away from Maya to his fiancée, and Maya saw something flash across his face. Resignation? Resentment? It was gone too quickly to identify. Give me a minute, Victoria. Victoria's expression hardened into something cold and brittle. Her voice dropped to a tone that was probably meant to be private, but carried perfectly to Maya's ears. Do not embarrass me by chatting with the staff. We talked about this. She released his arm with a sharp movement and walked back toward the windows, her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. Alexander turned back to Maya, and she saw conflict warring in his eyes. I looked for you. After that night, I asked at the front desk, but they said they had no record of a Maya Chen working in events. You asked for me. Of course I asked for you. His voice was low, urgent. That night meant something to me. You meant something to me. Maya's hand moved unconsciously to her stomach where their baby grew, barely the size of a lemon but already changing everything. The gesture lasted less than a second. But Alexander's eyes tracked the movement with predator precision. His face went pale as understanding crashed over him like a wave. Are you? He could not even finish the question, could not say the word that would make it real. Maya's silence was answer enough. She watched him process it. Shock, disbelief, fear, and then something that looked almost like hope before terror drowned it. Is it mine? The question felt like a slap. Yes. Her voice was cold now, her armor back in place. Obviously. How far along? Almost 3 months. 3 months. Alexander ran his hand through his perfectly styled hair, messing it up. 3 months. You have been pregnant for 3 months and you are not going to tell me? You are getting married. Maya gestured toward Victoria, who was watching them with barely concealed suspicion from across the ballroom. In 3 weeks, I saw the announcement in the Times. You are marrying Victoria Harrison, creating a business dynasty, merging 2 empires, combining family fortunes. Why would I tell you and ruin all that? Because it is my child. His raised voice drew attention from the catering staff setting up nearby. Several heads turned their direction with undisguised curiosity. Maya grabbed his arm and pulled him into a service hallway, away from prying eyes and listening ears. Keep your voice down, she hissed once they were alone. Do you want everyone to know? Maybe I do. His eyes blazed with something Maya could not identify. Maybe I want everyone to know that I am going to be a father. You are about to marry someone else. Maya's voice rose despite her best efforts. Your fiancé is standing right there planning your engagement party. Your engagement party that I am coordinating. Do you understand how insane this is? I do not love her. The words exploded out of him like they had been building pressure for months. Years, maybe. He pressed his palms against his eyes like he could block out reality. God, I do not love her. I have known that for so long, but I could not admit it. The merger, the families, the business implications, everyone's expectations. I thought I could go through with it. I thought I could make myself want what everyone else wanted from me. But you were going to. You are going to. The wedding is in 3 weeks. The invitations went out. The deposits are paid. Your whole life is planned. It was. Past tense. He dropped his hands and looked at her with raw honesty that made her chest ache. That night with you showed me what I have been missing. What I have been denying myself. I have spent the last 2 months trying to forget you. Trying to convince myself that one night with a stranger did not matter. That it was just a moment of weakness. But it did matter. You mattered. And now this. Maya felt tears threatening, hot and unwelcome. She could not do this. Not here. Not now. Not ever. You need to go back to your fiancé. I will handle this on my own. No. His voice was firm, final. I am not letting you do this alone. You do not have a choice. I am not asking for anything from you. I do not want your money or your name or anything else. I am telling you as a courtesy, but you do not need to be involved. Actually, I do. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I am calling off the wedding. Maya's heart stopped. The hallway tilted. What? I am calling off the wedding. Right now. I should have done it months ago. Years, maybe. You cannot do that. The business implications, your reputation, Victoria's family, the contracts that are probably already signed. I do not care. He looked at her with an intensity that stole her breath. I have spent my entire life making decisions based on what other people expected. What was smart? What was strategic? What would make my board happy or my investors confident? And I have been absolutely miserable. That night with you was the first time in years I felt alive. Real. Like myself instead of some character I play for everyone else. And now you are carrying my child. Our child. How can I marry someone else knowing that? Because this is complicated and messy and hard. Because you barely know me. Because one night does not mean we should build a life together. Because I do not want to be the reason your life implodes. Then let's get to know each other. Let me be there for you and our baby. Let me try. Maya wanted to say yes, wanted to believe him, wanted to fall into his arms and let someone else carry this burden she had been shouldering alone. But she had learned early that wanting something did not make it real. Real had consequences. Real meant pain. What happens when the novelty wears off? When you realize you gave up everything for a one-night stand that resulted in an accident? The word hit him like a physical blow. An accident? You know what I mean. No, I do not think I do. Is that what our baby is to you? An accident? No. Maya's voice broke. No, that is not what I meant. But you have to admit this is not exactly planned. We do not even know each other's favorite colors or middle names or anything real. We had one night, one conversation. That is not enough to build a family on. Then we will learn. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. We will figure it out together. Victoria is waiting for you. Maya gestured toward the ballroom with a hand that shook. You should go finalize the details of your engagement party. Maya, please. She could not look at him anymore. She could not see the hope and fear and desperation in his eyes without breaking completely. Just go. He hesitated for a long moment, clearly torn between staying and leaving, between two versions of his future. Then he nodded slowly, defeat etched into every line of his body. This conversation is not over. Yes, it is. Maya turned and walked away before she could change her mind. Before she could beg him to stay, before she could make this even more complicated than it already was. She did not look back, but as Maya pushed through the service door, she heard Alexander's voice behind her one more time. I am not going to abandon you, or our baby, whether you want me involved or not. The door closed, cutting off whatever else he might have said. Maya leaned against the wall in the empty service corridor and finally let herself cry. What had she done? She had just told the father of her child to leave, to marry someone else, to live his life without her. It was the right thing. the smart thing, the thing that would cause the least damage to the most people. So why did it feel like she had just made the worst mistake of her life? Alexander did not call off the wedding that day or the next. Maya told herself she was relieved. She did not want to be the reason his life imploded. She did not want that responsibility, that guilt, that weight. But 3 days later, the first text came. Unknown number. I need to see you. We need to talk about this properly. Please. Maya deleted it without responding. Another text came 2 hours later. Unknown number. I know you are trying to protect me, but I do not need protecting. Let me help you. Maya deleted that one too. The text kept coming. Alexander asking to meet, to talk, to be involved. Maya ignored them all. She had made her decision. She would do this alone. It was cleaner that way, simpler, less messy. On the 5th day, Maya was leaving work late when she found Alexander waiting by the employee entrance. He was not in a suit this time. Jeans, a leather jacket, stubble darkening his jaw. He looked like the man from that night instead of the billionaire CEO. Vulnerable, real, dangerous to her carefully constructed walls. What are you doing here? Maya looked around nervously. Someone might see. I do not care who sees. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. You have been ignoring my calls and texts. I do not have anything to say to you. Then just listen. Please. 5 minutes. That is all I am asking. Maya wanted to say no, wanted to walk past him to the subway and pretend this was not happening. But something in his eyes made her pause. The same thing that had made her stay in his hotel room instead of leaving. Recognition, connection. The feeling that they were both drowning and maybe together they could stay afloat. 5 minutes, she agreed. They walked to a diner 3 blocks away, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like battery acid but cost $1. Alexander looked completely out of place in his expensive clothes, but he did not seem to care. They slid into a back booth, and Maya ordered decaf coffee she would not drink. I told Victoria, Alexander said without preamble, about you, about the baby, about everything. Maya's blood ran cold. Her hands clenched around the chipped mug. You what? I told her yesterday. She deserved to know the truth before the wedding. Oh, God. Maya felt dizzy. What did she say? She threw a drink in my face, slapped me, and called me every name you can imagine. Then she called her father, who threatened multiple lawsuits. Then she called my board members, who scheduled an emergency meeting. Then she gave an exclusive interview to Page 6, painting me as a cheating bastard and you as a gold-digging homewrecker. Maya's stomach dropped. What? Alexander pulled out his phone and showed her the headline. Billionaire Alexander Montgomery calls off society. Wedding days before ceremony. Sources say another woman is pregnant with his child. There was a photo of Victoria looking devastated and beautiful. Another photo of Alexander looking grim, leaving a building. And a grainy photo of Maya that someone had clearly taken without her knowledge. The caption identified her as Maya Chen, hotel employee, and speculated about how she had seduced and trapped a billionaire. The comments underneath were brutal: gold digger, homewrecker, trash, opportunist. Dozens of people who had never met Maya weighing in on her character, her motives, her worth as a human being. This cannot be happening. Maya's hands shook so badly she could barely hold the phone. I never wanted this. I told you not to tell anyone. I was not going to marry Victoria while you were pregnant with my child. That would have been worse. That would have been a lie that hurt everyone eventually. Now everyone thinks I trapped you. Everyone thinks I am some kind of scheming. I know. Alexander gently took the phone from her trembling hands. And I am going to fix it. I am scheduling a press conference to set the record straight. No. Maya's voice rose, drawing looks from other patrons. No press conference. No statements. You will just make it worse. How could it possibly be worse? They will dig into my life, my family, everything. They will find out about my parents' failed restaurant, about my student loans, about every mistake I have ever made. They will paint me as someone who seduced you for money, even though I did not even know who you were. But that is the truth. We can tell them the truth. Maya laughed bitterly. When has the truth ever mattered to people who already decided what they believe? They do not want truth. They want a story. And I am the perfect villain in this story, the poor nobody who trapped the rich billionaire. Then what do you want me to do? I want you to marry Victoria and pretend I do not exist. I want my life back. I want this nightmare to end. I cannot do that. He reached across the table, but Maya pulled her hands away before he could touch her. The wedding is off. Victoria and I are done. I am not going back to that life. Because of me. Because of one night. Now your reputation is destroyed. Your business relationships are damaged. Your whole life is imploding. And it is all my fault. It is not your fault. I made a choice. We both made a choice. A choice that is ruining everything. Maya stood up, needing to leave before she started crying in public. I should never have walked into that room. I should never have stayed. But you did. We did. And now we are having a baby together. You can push me away all you want, but that fact does not change. Watch me, Maya said, and walked out of the diner. She made it home before the panic attack hit. She sat on her bathroom floor, gasping for air while the walls closed in. Her life was over. Her privacy was gone. Everyone would know. Everyone would judge. Her parents would be humiliated. Her job was probably forfeit. She would be the punchline to every joke about women who tried to social climb by getting pregnant. The next day confirmed her worst fears. Photographers were camped outside her apartment building. Reporters called her phone constantly, asking for comments and exclusive interviews. Someone had leaked her address online. Strangers were weighing in on her life choices on social media with all the confidence of people who had never faced difficult decisions themselves. Her supervisor called her into the office. Maya, given the current media attention, we think it is best if you take a temporary leave of absence. Until this all dies down. Temporary leave. The words for you are fired without severance. How long? We will reevaluate in a few weeks. Maya cleaned out her desk while her co-workers whispered and stared. She had gone from anonymous event coordinator to notorious homewrecker in 72 hours. The transformation was complete. She stopped leaving her apartment, unplugged her phone, ordered groceries for delivery, watched her life fall apart from behind closed curtains while the baby grew inside her, oblivious to the chaos it had caused. Victoria gave more interviews. Beautiful and wounded, she talked about being betrayed by the man she loved, about planning her dream wedding only to have it destroyed by someone she had never met. The media ate it up. Victoria was the sympathetic victim. Maya was the villain. Alexander was the weak man who had fallen for obvious manipulation. The narrative was set. Fighting it seemed impossible. 3 days into her self-imposed isolation, someone knocked on Maya's door. She ignored it. Probably more reporters wanting a statement or photos. The knocking continued, persistent, steady. Maya, I know you are in there. Please open the door. Alexander's voice, muffled but unmistakable. Go away. I brought soup, and ice cream, and those prenatal vitamins you need, and about 15 different kinds of crackers because I do not know which ones help with nausea. The door was solid wood between them, but Maya could hear the exhaustion in his voice, the worry. She should send him away, should maintain the distance she had tried so hard to create. But she was tired, so tired of being strong alone. She opened the door. Alexander stood in the hallway holding multiple grocery bags, looking like he had not slept in days. His hair was messy, his expensive clothes rumpled, dark circles under his eyes. He looked as wrecked as Maya felt, which gave her a twisted sense of satisfaction. I am sorry, he said simply. I am so sorry you are going through this, that my life dragged you into this nightmare. Maya's eyes filled with tears she had been holding back for days. She tried to speak but could not form words. Alexander set down the bags and pulled her into his arms, and Maya finally let herself break. She sobbed into his chest while he held her, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances that they both knew might be lies but needed to hear anyway. It was not fair. She should not find comfort in the person whose choices had created this mess. But his arms felt safe, like maybe she did not have to carry this weight alone anymore. Come on, he said gently when her tears finally subsided. Let's get you off your feet. He guided her to the couch and made her sit while he unpacked the groceries. Maya watched him move around her tiny kitchen like he belonged there. This billionaire, who probably had staff to do everything for him, was opening her cabinets, finding bowls, heating soup on her ancient stove. "You do not have to do this," Maya said. "Yes, I do." He brought her a bowl of chicken noodle soup and crackers. "You need to eat. For the baby. The media is destroying me. My job is gone. My life is over. Eating soup is not going to fix that. No, but it will keep you healthy while we figure out how to fix the rest." He sat beside her on the couch, close but not touching. "I talked to my lawyers. They are preparing defamation suits against anyone who published false information about you. And I am doing a press conference tomorrow to set the record straight. I told you not to do a press conference, and I am not listening. You did not ask for any of this. I am not letting people destroy your reputation because of choices I made." Maya ate the soup mechanically, tasting nothing. "What are you going to say? The truth? That you accidentally came to my room on a work assignment? That I invited you to stay? That we both made a choice together? That you did not know who I was? That there was no manipulation or gold digging? That I am the one who pursued you after finding out about the pregnancy, not the other way around?" Maya set down the soup, her appetite gone. "That will not change anything. People believe what they want to believe. Maybe, but at least the truth will be out there." He turned to face her fully. "And I want to ask you something." "What?" "Move in with me." Maya stared at him like he had lost his mind. "Excuse me? Your address is public now. There are photographers outside your building. You cannot even leave without being harassed. My penthouse has security, privacy, space for you and the baby. You would be safe there. I am not moving in with you. We barely know each other. Then we will get to know each other." His voice was patient, reasonable. "Maya, you are 3 months pregnant with my child. The media is camped outside your door. You have no job. Let me help you, please. I do not need your charity. It is not charity. It is me taking responsibility for my part in this situation." He reached for her hand, and this time she did not pull away. "I know you want to be independent. I know you do not want to owe me anything. But think about the baby. Our baby deserves a safe environment. Stability. That is what I am offering." Maya wanted to refuse on principle, but he was right about one thing. She could not stay here. The photographers would not leave. The harassment would continue. And she had to think about more than just her pride now. She had a baby to protect. "Okay," she said quietly, "but just until this dies down, and I am getting my own room. This is not some romantic reunion. This is practical necessity. Understood?" The relief on Alexander's face was palpable. "I will have movers come get your things tomorrow. For tonight, just pack a bag with essentials." Maya packed in a daze. Clothes, toiletries, her laptop, the prenatal vitamins Alexander had brought. Her entire life fitting into 2 suitcases felt symbolic somehow. Evidence of how quickly everything could change. Alexander's car was waiting in the underground garage to avoid the photographers. A sleek black SUV with tinted windows and a driver who did not ask questions. They drove through Manhattan in silence, and Maya watched her neighborhood disappear behind them, wondering if she would ever get it back. The penthouse was on the Upper East Side, taking up the entire top floor of a building that probably cost more than Maya would earn in 10 lifetimes. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park. The furniture looked like it belonged in a museum. Everything was pristine, expensive, and completely impersonal. "Guest room is down this hall," Alexander said, leading her past rooms that seemed to go on forever. "Private bathroom, walk-in closet. Make yourself comfortable." The guest room was bigger than Maya's entire apartment. The bed looked like something out of a luxury hotel. Through the windows, the city sparkled like a jewelry box. "This is temporary," Maya reminded herself and Alexander. "Just until things calm down." "However long you need," he agreed. But that night, lying in expensive sheets in a room that cost more per month than her annual salary, Maya felt more alone than she had in her tiny studio apartment. This was not her world. She did not belong here among the marble and the art and the silence that money could buy. She cried herself to sleep for the 3rd night in a row, one hand on her growing belly, wondering how everything had gotten so complicated so fast. The next morning, Alexander's press conference aired on every major news channel. Maya watched from the penthouse, her stomach in knots. Alexander looked composed and serious in a dark suit, facing a room full of reporters. I am here today to address the recent speculation about my personal life and to correct several false narratives that have been circulating. He explained how Maya had come to his room by accident on a work assignment, how he had been going through a personal crisis and had invited her to stay for a conversation, how they had connected as two lonely people and made a mutual decision that resulted in her pregnancy, how she had not known his identity or his engagement status initially, how she had tried to handle the pregnancy alone without involving him. Maya Chen is not a gold digger or a homewrecker, Alexander said, his voice firm. She is a hard-working young woman who was doing her job when she accidentally entered my room. Everything that happened after that was my choice as much as hers. The attacks on her character are unfair and unwarranted, and I will be taking legal action against anyone who continues to spread false information about her. Do you love her? A reporter shouted. Alexander paused and Maya held her breath. I am not going to discuss my private feelings in this forum. What I will say is that she is carrying my child, and I intend to be fully involved in raising that child. Whether Maya and I pursue a romantic relationship is between us and nobody else's business. The questions came rapid fire after that. What about Victoria? Are you back together? How much are you paying Maya? Is this just damage control? Alexander handled them with the same calm authority he probably used in boardrooms. But Maya could see the tension in his shoulders, the exhaustion around his eyes. This was costing him, she realized. His reputation, his relationships, his carefully constructed life, all for one night with a stranger and the consequences that followed. The press conference did not fix everything. The comments online were still brutal, but it shifted the narrative slightly. Some people started questioning the gold digger accusations. Others suggested that maybe Maya was a victim of circumstance rather than a calculating villain. The tide was turning slowly. Victoria gave another interview the next day, tearful and wounded. But this time, some commentators pointed out that she seemed more upset about the embarrassment than the actual betrayal, that her tears felt performative, that maybe this was more about a business merger falling apart than a broken heart. Maya spent her days in the penthouse trying to figure out what came next. She applied for jobs but got rejection after rejection. Her name was too recognizable now, too associated with scandal. Nobody wanted that drama in their workplace. Alexander worked from home when he could, trying to give her space while also being present. They ate meals together sometimes, stilted and awkward. They talked about the baby, doctor appointments, practical matters. They carefully avoided talking about them. But at night, Maya would hear him pacing in his room. And she knew he heard her crying in hers. Two people sharing a space, but utterly alone. At her 12-week ultrasound, Alexander insisted on coming. They sat in the waiting room among happy couples, painfully aware that they were not one of them. When the technician spread the gel on Maya's slightly rounded belly and the heartbeat filled the room, strong and steady, they both cried. That is our baby, Alexander whispered, staring at the grainy image on the screen. Yeah, Maya agreed. It is. In that moment, the complications fell away. The scandal, the judgment, the uncertain future. None of it mattered compared to that tiny life growing inside her. Their baby, a person they had created together who deserved better than two parents who could barely look at each other without guilt and confusion. We need to figure this out, Maya said that evening. For the baby, we need to actually talk instead of just existing in the same space. Okay, Alexander set down his laptop. What do you want to talk about? Everything. I do not know anything about you except what I read online, and you do not know me. How are we supposed to raise a child together when we are strangers? So we will stop being strangers. He moved to sit beside her on the couch. Ask me anything. I will answer honestly. They talked until 3 in the morning. Maya learned that Alexander's mother had died when he was 2, and his father abandoned him at a fire station. That he had bounced through 7 foster homes before aging out of the system at 18. That he had lived in his car while going to community college. that his first business partner had stolen his initial idea and left him with nothing, that every success had been built on failure and rejection. And Alexander learned about Maya, her parents' sacrifices, the pressure to be perfect, her secret love of writing that she had never pursued, her fear of becoming invisible, her complicated relationship with her younger brother, who had always been their parents' favorite even though he never tried as hard. "I spent my whole life trying to earn approval that never came," Maya admitted. "And then I walked into your room, and for one night I did not care about approval. I just existed." "That night was the first time in years I felt like myself," Alexander said. "Not the CEO or the billionaire or the foster kid who made good. Just Alexander. Just a person." "Who are you, really?" Maya asked. "Under all the layers?" "I am still figuring that out." He smiled sadly. "Maybe we can figure it out together." As the weeks passed, something shifted between them. They were not exactly friends, not exactly lovers, but they were something, connected by more than just the baby growing inside Maya, connected by late-night conversations and shared meals, and the gradual lowering of defenses. Maya started writing again, stories she had been afraid to write. Alexander read them and gave honest feedback. He started cooking, something he had learned as a kid but never had time for. Maya taste-tested and laughed when things went wrong. They were building something. Maya was not sure what, but it felt important, real, like maybe the wrong room had led her to exactly where she needed to be after all. But the universe was not done with them yet. At 16 weeks, Maya woke up to cramping so severe she could not breathe. She stumbled out of bed and down the hall to Alexander's room, barely able to speak. "Hospital," she managed to gasp. "Something is wrong." Alexander was dressed and calling his driver within seconds. In the car, he held her hand while she tried not to panic. "The baby. Please let the baby be okay. Please." The emergency room was a blur of questions and forms and monitors. Maya lay on a bed while a doctor pressed an ultrasound wand against her belly with professional detachment. The heartbeat filled the room. Strong, steady, perfect. "Baby is fine," the doctor said. "You are having round ligament pain. Completely normal, but very painful. The cramping should ease within a few hours." Maya started crying from relief. Alexander sat beside her bed holding her hand, his face gray with fear that was only now receding. "You are okay. The baby is okay." His voice was shaky. "Thank God." But the scare had shaken something loose in Maya. Life was fragile, unpredictable. She could not keep living in limbo, pretending she and Alexander were just roommates co-parenting a baby that was not even born yet. "I need to tell you something," Maya said when they got back to the penthouse. "About that night. About why I really stayed." "Okay, I knew it was wrong. I knew I should leave. But you looked at me like I mattered. Like I was more than just another person taking up space. Do you know how rare that is? To be really seen? I do know, because you did the same for me. I have been so angry at myself for getting pregnant, for complicating everything, for ruining your wedding and my job and both our lives. But today, when I thought something might be wrong with the baby, all I felt was terror at losing it." Maya's voice broke. "This baby is the best mistake I ever made. It is not a mistake." Alexander cupped her face in his hands. "None of this is a mistake. Meeting you, making a choice we both wanted, creating this life together. The timing might have been wrong, but nothing about this feels like a mistake to me." "What are we doing?" Maya whispered. "What is this between us?" "I do not know, but I want to find out." He kissed her forehead. "If you will let me." Maya closed her eyes, feeling the last of her defenses crumble. "Okay, let's find out." They started dating, which felt absurd given that they were already living together and expecting a baby. But they did it anyway. Alexander took her to small restaurants where nobody recognized them. They went to movies and held hands in the dark. They went to bookstores and argued about favorite novels. They went to the park and talked about everything and nothing. Maya's parents finally called. They had seen the news, the interviews, all of it. Her mother cried. Her father was silent. Then he said something Maya had waited her whole life to hear. "We are proud of you for handling this with dignity, for being strong, for protecting your child." Maya cried for an hour after that call. Alexander's business recovered. Some partners came back. New opportunities emerged. The scandal was becoming old news, replaced by fresher gossip about other people's mistakes. Victoria got engaged to someone else, a banker from a good family. She gave an interview saying she had forgiven Alexander and wished him well. It felt like closure. At 20 weeks, they found out the baby was a girl. They started calling her Hope because she represented possibility in the middle of chaos. Maya's belly grew. Alexander talked to Hope every night, his head resting on Maya's stomach, telling her about his day. Maya wrote stories about strong women and second chances. They built a nursery in the spare room with soft colors and fairy lights. "I love you," Alexander said one night as they lay in bed together. In Maya's bed now, the guest room long abandoned. He said it simply, like it was the most obvious truth in the world. Maya smiled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I love you too. I think I have for a while. Even when you hated me, especially then." They laughed, and it felt like freedom. At 30 weeks, Alexander proposed again. Not in a grand gesture, but in their kitchen at 2 in the morning when Hope was doing gymnastics and neither of them could sleep. "Marry me," he said. "Not because of the baby or the scandal or what anyone thinks. Marry me because I want to spend every day learning more about you. Because you make me laugh. Because you see me. Because I cannot imagine my life without you in it." "Yes," Maya said. "Yes, I will marry you." They got married at City Hall with just her parents and her brother present. Maya wore a simple dress that accommodated her belly. Alexander cried through his vows. They celebrated with dim sum in Chinatown, and it was perfect. At 37 weeks, Maya went into labor during a snowstorm. They barely made it to the hospital. 14 hours later, Hope May Montgomery was born, screaming her arrival with impressive lungs. "She is perfect," Alexander whispered, holding their daughter with tears streaming down his face. "You are both perfect." Maya smiled through her exhaustion, watching her husband hold their daughter. This family they had built from chaos and mistakes and one night in the wrong room. 2 years later, Maya stood in the ballroom of the plaza where this had all begun. But she was not there as an employee. She was there as the guest of honor at a book launch party. Her novel, about a woman who walks into the wrong room and finds her life, had just hit the bestseller list. Alexander stood beside her holding Hope, who wore a tiny party dress and kept trying to eat the decorations. Maya's parents beamed with pride. Her brother had designed the book cover. Victoria sent flowers with a note saying congratulations. "I never imagined my life would look like this," Maya said to her mother. Her mother smiled. "The best things come from the places we are not supposed to go." Maya thought about that night 4 years ago. The transposed numbers, the wrong door, the choice that had seemed like the biggest mistake of her life. Hope squealed and reached for Maya, and Alexander handed her over with a kiss on both their foreheads. This was her life now, built on accidents that were not accidents at all. Built on choices made in darkness that led to light. That night, after the party ended and Hope was asleep, Maya and Alexander stood by the windows of their penthouse overlooking the city that had witnessed their entire journey. "Do you ever regret it?" Maya asked. "Walking away from your old life?" "Not even for a second." Alexander pulled her close. "That life was not living. This is living." Maya closed her eyes and let herself feel grateful. For wrong turns, for mistakes, for courage, for second chances. For a man who had seen her when she felt invisible. She had walked into the wrong room and found the right life. And that made all the difference. But there was one more thing Maya had not told anyone. One more secret that would change everything again. At her recent doctor's appointment, Maya had learned she was pregnant again. 8 weeks along with twins this time. She smiled against Alexander's chest, her hand moving to her still flat belly where their next adventure grew. Some mistakes were worth repeating.